Jake Morrison sat in his chair and looked around the large meeting room. The room was cold and smelled like metal. Strange lights hung from the ceiling, casting weird shadows on the walls. Around the curved table sat creatures from 27 different worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Others had scales like reptiles. A few glowed with their own light. Jake had been sitting in the same chair for 3 months. Every day was the same. The aliens would talk about humans like they were dangerous animals. They would argue about whether humans should be allowed to travel between stars. They spoke about Earth like it was a prison that needed better locks. Next, to Jake sat Lisa Blake, his helper. She was a young woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes. Lisa watched the aliens speak and took notes on her computer. Sometimes she would lean over and whisper to Jake about what the aliens were really saying. The translation machines were good, but they missed the insults hidden in polite words. Today was worse than usual. A tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms was speaking. Its name was Vexithera, and it came from a world called Cytheria. The Cytherians thought they were better than everyone else because they had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. The human problem must be solved, Vexithera said in its high, squeaky voice. These beings are too violent, too unpredictable. They fight wars on their own planet. They build weapons. They cannot be trusted with star travel. Jake's hand tightened on his coffee cup. The coffee was cold now. He had been drinking the same cup for an hour while listening to this speech. Vexithera continued talking. I propose we build a wall around their solar system. We can watch them from far away. We can study them like scientists study dangerous creatures in cages. Maybe in a few hundred years they will become civilized enough to join us. Other aliens around the table nodded their heads. Some made clicking sounds with their mouths, which meant they agreed. A few looked uncomfortable, but they said nothing. Jake had heard enough. He stood up slowly. The chair made a small scraping sound on the metal floor. The room became quiet. All the alien eyes turned to look at him. Counselor Vexithera, Jake said. His voice was calm and steady. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about my species. Vexithera's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. Humans were supposed to be quiet during these meetings. They were supposed to listen and be grateful that the aliens were even talking to them. Jake picked up his papers from the table. He stacked them neatly, taking his time. Lisa watched him with wide eyes. She had never seen her boss look so calm when he was angry. I want to make something clear, Jake continued. Humanity withdraws from these talks. We will not be coming back. The room exploded with noise. Aliens started talking all at once in different languages. The translation machines could not keep up. Some aliens stood up from their chairs. Others started waving their arms or tentacles in the air. Jake ignored the noise. He put his papers in his briefcase and closed it with a loud snap. Lisa quickly gathered her things and stood up next to him. The chairman of the meeting was a creature that looked like a giant spider. Its name was Clithmore, and it came from a world where everything was covered in webs. Clithmore had 8 legs and 8 eyes, and right now all 8 eyes were staring at Jake. Ambassador Morrison, Clithmore said in a voice like rustling leaves, you cannot simply leave. These talks are important for peace in the galaxy. Many worlds depend on finding a solution to the human question. Jake started walking toward the Igor door. His footsteps echoed in the large room. Lisa followed close behind him. Other humans in the room started gathering their things too. There were 12 humans total at the peace talks. Scientists, soldiers, and diplomats who had all been trying to prove that Earth deserved a place among the stars. Ambassador, please, called out another alien. This one looked like a walking tree with glowing fruit hanging from its branches. Surely we can discuss this more. Perhaps we were too harsh in our words. Jake stopped walking. He did not turn around to face the aliens. He spoke to the door instead. For 3 months I have listened to you debate whether my species deserves to exist freely in this galaxy. You have called us violent, primitive, and dangerous. You have suggested putting us in cages. You have treated us like we are less than you. The room was completely quiet now. Even the humming of the machines had stopped. Jake turned around slowly. His blue eyes looked at each alien in turn. Some of them looked away. Others tried to stare back but failed. "Let me tell you something about humans," Jake said. "We chose to come here peacefully. We chose to ask for permission instead of taking what we wanted. We chose to talk instead of fight. Do not mistake our choice for weakness." He walked to the door and put his hand on the control panel. The door began to slide open with a soft hissing sound. "Wait!" Vexithara called out. The purple alien's voice was not as confident as before. "What will you do now? Where will you go?" Jake looked back one last time. A small smile appeared on his face, but it was not a friendly smile. "We will go home," he said, "and then you will learn what the galaxy looks like without humans in it." The door closed behind Jake and Lisa with a final, quiet click. In the meeting, room 27 different species sat in complete silence. Outside the windows, stars twinkled in the darkness of space. Those same stars would soon seem much lonelier than they had just moments before. Clithmore looked around the table at the other aliens. For the first time in his long life, the old spider felt something he had never felt before when dealing with a younger species. He felt afraid. The news traveled fast through space, faster than anyone thought possible. Within hours of Jake Morrison walking out of the peace talks, every human ship and station in the galaxy received the same message. It was short and simple. Come home. Bring everything. Leave nothing behind. Captain Ryan Torres was patrolling the edge of Zephyrian space when his communication officer brought him the message. Ryan was a tall man with dark hair and calm eyes. He had been commanding the warship Defiant for 5 years. His ship was one of 50 human vessels keeping peace in the outer regions of the galaxy. "Sir," said Katie Walsh, his young communication officer. "We have urgent orders from Earth Command." Ryan read the message twice, then he read it again. Katie watched his face change from confusion to understanding, to something that looked like satisfaction. "Katie, send a message to all human ships in this sector. Tell them to meet us at Jump Point 7. We are going home." "What about our patrol route, sir? The Zephyrians are expecting us to guard their trade ships." Ryan smiled. It was not a nice smile. The Zephyrians will have to guard their own ships now. Far away in another part of the galaxy, Admiral Patricia Hayes stood on the bridge of the huge ship Constitution. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and eyes like steel. Her ship was so big it looked like a floating city. Patricia commanded all human military forces outside of Earth's solar system. Her helper, Commander Alex Parker, showed her a list on his computer screen. The list was very long. "Admiral, we are talking about pulling back everything. 200 colonies, 15 exploration fleets, 47 major trade deals. The numbers are huge." Patricia nodded slowly. She had expected this day would come. The aliens had pushed too hard for too long. "Alex, send the recall order to every human commander. I want all our people back in Earth space within 60 days, no exceptions. What about the colonies that have been established for decades? Some of those people were born on alien worlds. All of them," Patricia said firmly. "Every human, every ship, every piece of equipment we can carry. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Ben Clark was having the worst day of his life. Ben was a big man with rough hands and a beard. He ran the largest mining operation outside of human space. His team of 300 workers dug up rare metals that aliens needed for their fastest spaceships. Ben's assistant, a young woman named Carol Davis, ran into his office with tears in her eyes. "Ben, we just got word from Earth. We have to leave, all of us, right now." Ben looked at the computer screen Carol handed him. The evacuation order was clear. Leave immediately. Take only personal belongings. Destroy all equipment that could not be moved. "Carol, how long would it take to pack up the fusion reactors?" 3 months, maybe 4. "But sir, the order says we have to leave in 2 weeks. Ben walked to his window and looked out at the mining complex. Huge machines worked, day and night, pulling precious metals from the ground. Those metals powered the spaceships of 3 different alien civilizations. Without them, those aliens could not travel between stars. "Carol, send a message to all supervisors. We are shutting down operations immediately. Start the reactor shutdown. Sequence. Prepare demolition charges for anything we cannot take with us. Demolition charges? Ben, this facility is worth billions of credits. Ben turned away from the window. His face was hard. Not anymore. Earth says come home, so we come home. The same scene was happening on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Human doctors left alien hospitals. Human teachers closed their schools. Human engineers powered down the factories they had built. Human farmers abandoned their crops just days before harvest. Dr. Linda Wright worked at the Andromedan Science Institute. She was one of the smartest people in the galaxy, and she had spent 10 years helping aliens understand quantum physics. Her research had led to new types of faster-than-light travel. When Linda got the recall order, she was in the middle of an important experiment. Her alien colleagues gathered around her desk, their faces showing panic. "Dr. Wright," said Professor Zendal, a tall alien with blue skin and 3 heads. "You cannot leave now, we are so close to a breakthrough. This research could change everything." Linda packed her personal notes into a small bag. Her official research files went into the deletion program on her computer. "I am sorry, Professor, but my government has called me home." "What about our project? What about 5 years of work together?" Linda stopped packing and looked at the aliens around her. She had thought they were her friends, but when humans were being insulted at the peace talks, none of these aliens had spoken up for her species. "You should have thought about that before. You tried to put humans in cages," Linda said quietly. The first week after the human withdrawal was confusing. Alien governments sent angry messages to Earth demanding that human workers return to their jobs. Earth did not answer any of the messages. The second week was worse. Trade routes that had been running smoothly for years started having problems. Human cargo ships were no longer carrying goods between worlds. Human pilots were not flying the big passenger ships that connected different star systems. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, merchant Prince Quovan watched his business empire falling apart. Quovan looked like a giant octopus with golden skin. He had 8 arms and used all of them to work on different business deals at the same time. "Where are all the human ships?" Quovan demanded of his assistants. "My cargo has been sitting on the loading dock for 3 days." "Sir, the human shipping companies have all canceled their contracts. They say they are returning to Earth space." Quovan waved 4 of his arms in frustration. "Find other ships, hire Zephyrian vessels, pay whatever they ask." "Sir, the Zephyrians do not have enough ships, and they are asking for 10 times the normal price." By the 3rd week, panic was starting to spread through alien space. The creatures who had called humans primitive and violent were learning something important. Humans had become the backbone of galactic civilization. They had done it so quietly that no one had noticed until they were gone. On Earth, President Helen Carter received daily reports about conditions in alien space. The reports made her smile. "Director Collins," she said to her intelligence chief, "how are our alien neighbors doing?" Sam Collins, a thin man with gray hair, looked at his notes. "Not well, Madam President. The Vegan Confederacy has lost 30% of their energy production. The Catherian Empire cannot build new warships without human-made parts. The Andromedans are offering us entire star systems just to get our scientists back. And what is our response? Complete radio silence as you ordered." President Carter looked out her window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, human ships were coming home. Ships full of people who had been treated like second-class citizens for too long. "Good," she said. "Let them think about what they have lost. Let them think about it for a long time." 3 weeks after the humans left, the galaxy started falling apart. On the crystal world of Vega Prime, Prime Minister Zelnara paced back and forth in her office. She was a tall, thin creature with skin that looked like glass. Her home planet was famous for being rich and powerful. But today, Zelnara did not feel rich or powerful. She felt scared. Her assistant, a younger Vegan named Colrin, rushed into the office with a computer tablet in his hands. "Prime Minister, the energy crisis is getting worse. 3 more cities have lost power this week." Zelnara stopped pacing and looked at the numbers on the tablet. The numbers were bad. Very bad. "How did this happen? We have the most advanced..." Technology in the galaxy. Yes, Prime Minister, but humans supplied 30% of our deuterium fuel. The fusion reactors that power our cities need that fuel to run. Without it, they are shutting down one by one. Zelnara threw the tablet onto her desk. It made a loud crashing sound on the crystal surface. 30%? How did we let one species become so important to our survival? Colrin looked uncomfortable. Prime Minister, the humans were reliable suppliers. Their prices were fair. We never thought they would just disappear. Well, they have disappeared. Find other suppliers, buy deuterium from the Catherians or the Zephyrians. We tried, Prime Minister. The Catherians want to charge us 5 times the normal price. The Zephyrians say they do not have enough deuterium for themselves. Zelnara sat down in her chair and put her head in her hands. Outside her window, she could see the lights of the city flickering. Some buildings were already dark. Far away, on the military world of Catheria, Counselor Vexithera was having his own problems. Vexithera was the same alien who had suggested putting humans in cages. Now he was learning what happened when you insulted someone who could fight back. General Thoxmoon, the head of the Catherian military, stood in front of Vexithara's desk. The general was a big creature with 4 arms and red scales. His usual, confident attitude was gone. Counselor, our fleet readiness has dropped to 60%. We have a serious problem. What kind of problem? Vexithara asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Our newest warships use plasma weapons. The power cores for those weapons were made by humans. We have enough spare parts for maybe 6 months. After that, our ships will be helpless. Vexithara's 4 eyes went wide. That is impossible. We are the Catherian Empire. We have been building warships for 1,000 years. Yes, Counselor, but human engineering is better than ours. Their power cores are smaller, more efficient, and more reliable. We started using them 5 years ago because they were so much better than what we could make ourselves. So make our own power cores again. General Thoxman looked at the floor. We stopped making our own power cores when we started buying from humans. We sold our old factories and fired our engineers. It would take years to build new ones. Vexithara felt sick. The same species he had called primitive and violent was more advanced than his own people, and now they were gone. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, things were even worse. Merchant Prince Quovan had lost half of his business in just 3 weeks. His 8 arms moved frantically as he tried to manage the crisis, but there was no solution. His assistant, a small creature named Piptal, brought him more bad news every hour. Sir, the cargo ship from Andromeda has been delayed again. They cannot find pilots who know how to navigate the dangerous asteroid fields. What about the Zephyrian pilots? They tried, sir. 2 ships were lost in the asteroids yesterday. The Zephyrians say the routes are too dangerous without human navigators. Quovan slammed one of his arms on his desk. The humans made it look so easy. Their ships flew through those asteroid fields like they were empty space. Yes, sir. Human pilots had special training for dangerous flying. Other species always hired humans for the difficult routes. And now all the difficult routes are closed. Half the galaxy cannot get supplies because no one else knows how to fly through the dangerous areas. The problems were not just with big businesses and governments. Regular people were suffering too. On the planet Xerion, an alien family sat in their dark house. The father, Grixvon, tried to explain to his children why the lights were not working. Papa, when will the power come back? Asked his youngest daughter. I do not know, little one. The humans who fixed our power plants have gone away. Why did they go away? Grixvon did not know how to answer. How could he explain that the adults in the galaxy had been mean to the humans? How could he tell his children that the powerful people had made a terrible mistake? On the research world of Centauri Beta, alien scientists stared at their broken equipment. Dr. Flux Ara, the head of the quantum physics department, called an emergency meeting. My colleagues, we have a serious problem. Our main computer has crashed and we cannot fix it. What do you mean we cannot fix it? Asked Professor Wimdahl. The computer uses human-designed quantum processors. The programming is written in human, mathematical language. Without human technicians, we cannot even understand how it works. The room full of alien scientists went quiet. These were some of the smartest beings in the galaxy, but they were helpless without human help. How long? Can we continue our research without the main computer? We cannot continue at all. All our important data is stored in that computer. All our research projects depend on it. Without it, this research station is useless. Meanwhile, on Earth, Director Sam Collins brought President Carter the daily intelligence report. He sat down across from her desk and opened his computer. Madam President, the situation in alien space is getting worse every day. Tell me the details, Sam. The Vegan Confederacy is facing power shortages across 12 star systems. The Catherian Empire has put their entire fleet in emergency maintenance mode. The Andromedans are offering us 3 star systems and 100 billion credits just to send back our scientists. President Carter smiled. It was not a mean smile, but it was not kind either. What about the Galactic Council? Any word from Chairman Clithmore? He has sent 17 messages requesting immediate talks. Each message sounds more desperate than the last. He is offering us full membership in the council with no conditions. And Counselor Vexithara, the one who wanted to put us in cages? Sam Collins looked at his notes. He has been removed from his position. The Catherian government is blaming him for the crisis. They want to offer him to us as a prisoner to show they are sorry. President Carter stood up and walked to her window. She could see the lights of human cities in the distance. Those lights were still shining bright while alien worlds went dark. No, Sam. We do not want their prisoners. We want their respect. What are your orders, Madam President? Continue the silence. Let them panic a little longer. Let them understand what the galaxy looks like without humans taking care of everything. Outside, the stars twinkled in the night sky. Those same stars were shining on alien worlds where the lights were going out and the machines were breaking down. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about taking things for granted. 2 months after the humans left, some aliens decided to use force instead of asking nicely. War Primarch Krextor was the leader of the Draconian military. The Draconians were big reptile creatures with sharp teeth and bad tempers. They lived on hot worlds and liked to solve problems by fighting. Krextor had scales as black as space and eyes like burning coals. Enough waiting, Krextor growled at his generals. The humans think they can ignore the mighty Draconian hegemony. We will show them they are wrong. General Vashitok, his second-in-command, looked worried. War Primarch, perhaps we should try talking to them first. The humans have been quiet for 2 months. Maybe they are planning something. Krextor laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. Planning? They are probably hiding in their little solar system, scared of what they have done. They cut off trade with the galaxy, and now they are afraid of the consequences. Sir, intelligence reports suggest the humans have been building up their defenses around Earth. Of course they have. They know we are angry. They are trying to protect themselves. But we are Draconians. We have conquered 100 worlds. What can one small species do against our battle fleet? Krextor stood up from his command chair and walked to a large map of the galaxy. The map showed Draconian territory in red. It was a big area with many star systems. But next to it was human space, marked in blue. Human space was much smaller, but it was in a very important location. Look at this map, General. The humans control the best trade routes between the outer rim and the inner core worlds. Without access to their space, our merchant ships have to take the long way around. The journey takes twice as long and costs twice as much. Yes, War Primarch, but perhaps we could offer them better trade terms. Krextor's eyes glowed brighter with anger. We do not bargain with lesser species. We take what we need. Prepare the first battle fleet. We will go to Earth and make the humans see reason. How many ships, sir? 12 heavy cruisers and the flagship Dominion's Wrath. That should be more than enough to frighten them into cooperation. 3 days later, the Draconian battle fleet jumped into the solar system where Earth was located. Krextor stood on the bridge of his flagship, expecting to see a few small human ships and maybe some simple defense stations. Instead, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. Floating in space near Earth was the biggest space station Krextor had ever seen. It was 10 times larger than anything in Draconian space. The station had hundreds of weapon ports and thick armor plating. Next to it were human warships that looked nothing like the simple vessels the Draconians expected. "War Primarch," his sensor officer said in a shaky voice. "I am reading massive energy signatures from that station. The power levels are off our charts. What about their ships? How many do they have?" 37 warships, sir. But War Primarch, these are not the ships we have in our intelligence files. These are completely new designs. Admiral Patricia Hayes sat in the command center of Fortress 1, the huge space station protecting Earth. She was calm and relaxed as she watched the Draconian ships on her screens. "Admiral," said Commander Jake Stevens from his destroyer Vigilant, "the Draconian fleet has taken an aggressive formation. They appear to be preparing for battle." "How many ships, Commander?" 13 total, including one Dreadnought-class vessel. Standard Draconian military loadout. Admiral Hayes smiled. 13 ships. They brought 13 ships to attack the home system of humanity. How optimistic of them. On her bridge, Captain Maria Santos prepared her fighter squadron for launch. Maria was a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. She flew the fastest fighters in human space. "All wings, this is Phoenix Leader. We have hostile contacts entering our system. Prepare for intercept." "Phoenix Leader, this is Control. You are cleared to launch. Show our guests what human engineering can do." The battle began when Krextor ordered his ships to fire warning shots at the human station. He thought the humans would surrender immediately when they saw Draconian firepower. Instead, the humans fired back. The first salvo from Fortress 1 hit the Draconian flagship like a hammer hitting an egg. The massive station's weapons were more powerful than anything the Draconians had ever seen. Krextor's shields collapsed in seconds, and his ship started spinning out of control. "Damage report," Krextor roared. "War Primarch, main engines are offline. Weapon systems are damaged. Life support is failing on decks 7 through 12. "How is that possible? We have the strongest shields in the galaxy." "Sir, the human weapons are using some kind of focused plasma technology. Our shields cannot stop it." Commander Stevens coordinated the human fleet response from his destroyer. The human ships moved like dancers, fast and graceful. They surrounded the Draconian vessels and attacked from all directions at once. "All ships, focus fire on the enemy. Cruisers. Leave the flagship for last. We want prisoners to question." Captain Santos led her fighters in attacks on the Draconian engines. Her small, fast ships darted between the big alien vessels like angry wasps. The Draconian gunners could not hit the human fighters because they moved too quickly. "Phoenix 2, target the enemy ship's engine ports. Phoenix 3, take out their communication arrays." The battle lasted exactly 14 minutes. When it was over, 12 Draconian ships were drifting helplessly in space. Only one ship, a small cruiser, still had power. Admiral Hayes opened a communication channel to the Draconian fleet. "This is Admiral Patricia Hayes of the Human Defense Fleet. Draconian vessels, you have violated Earth space without permission. You fired weapons at our installations. Surrender immediately or we will destroy you." War Primarch Krextor sat in his damaged command chair, looking at the human fleet on his screens. His proud battle fleet had been defeated in less than 15 minutes. Ships that had conquered many worlds were now helpless. "War Primarch," General Vashitok whispered, "what are your orders?" Krextor closed his eyes. His pride was broken, along with his ships. "Signal surrender to the humans." Back on Earth, President Carter received a report about the battle from Admiral Hayes. "Madam President, the Draconian attack has been repelled. We have captured their entire fleet with minimal damage to our forces." "Casualties?" "None on our side. The Draconians have some wounded but no deaths. We were careful to disable their ships without killing anyone." President Carter nodded. "Good. We are not murderers. What about intelligence? Did we learn anything useful?" "Yes, Madam President. It appears the aliens have seriously underestimated our military capabilities. They thought we were defenseless." Dr. Paul Wright, the chief science advisor, joined the conversation from his laboratory. "Madam President, this attack proves something important. While the aliens were studying our trade goods and cultural exports, we were studying them. We learned about their technology, their weapons, their tactics. We use that knowledge to build better ships and better weapons. How much better, Dr. Wright? Our technology is at least 50 years ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Maybe more. We could have conquered the entire galaxy years ago if we had wanted to. President Carter walked to her window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien worlds were still going dark as their systems failed without human support, and now they knew that humanity was not just economically powerful, but militarily superior too. Dr. Wright, make sure this information reaches the Galactic Council. Let them know that the species they wanted to put in cages could have put them in cages instead. The news of the Draconian defeat spread through the galaxy faster than light. On every alien world, leaders realized they had made a terrible mistake. Humanity had not been the weak, primitive species seeking approval from advanced civilizations. They had been the sleeping giant, choosing peace over conquest until pushed too far. Chairman Clithmore received the battle report in his office on D. Station Nexus. The old spider creature read it 3 times before he believed it. 14 minutes, he whispered to himself. They destroyed the Draconian First Battle Fleet in 14 minutes. His assistant brought him another message. This one was from the Catherian Empire, officially removing Counselor Vexithara from all positions and offering to surrender him to human justice. Clithmore set the message aside and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was waiting. And for the first time in his long life, the chairman of the Galactic Council was truly afraid. 6 months after walking out of the peace talks, Ambassador Jake Morrison returned to Station Nexus. This time, everything was different. The same meeting room where aliens had once talked about putting humans in cages was now filled with nervous, desperate creatures. 27 different species sat quietly in their chairs waiting for the human delegation to arrive. No one was making jokes about primitive humans anymore. Chairman Clithmore stood at the head of the table, his 8 spider, legs trembling slightly. He had called this emergency meeting after the news of the Draconian defeat reached every corner of the galaxy. The proud alien civilizations that had once looked down on humanity now faced a terrifying truth. They had been insulting the most powerful species in the galaxy. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Jake Morrison walked in, followed by Lisa Blake and 5 other humans. But this time, they were not alone. Admiral Patricia Hayes entered wearing her full military uniform, her medals catching the light. Behind her came Dr. Paul Wright, the scientist who had helped design humanity's advanced technology. Jake took his seat at the table, but now no one was looking down at him. Every alien eye was focused on his face with something between respect and fear. "Honored delegates," Jake began, his voice calm and steady. "Thank you for requesting this meeting. I understand you have some things to discuss with humanity." Counselor Vexithara was not in the room. The Catherian who had suggested caging humans had been removed from power by his own government. In his place sat a much younger Catherian named Paulnex, who looked terrified to be there. Chairman Clithmore cleared his throat, which sounded like leaves rustling in wind. "Ambassador Morrison, we wish to apologize for the misunderstandings of our previous meetings. We now realize that we did not fully appreciate humanity's capabilities." Jake nodded politely. "Chairman Clithmore, we appreciate your honesty. However, humanity requires more than apologies. We need guarantees that this treatment will never happen again." President Helen Carter's voice suddenly filled the room through the communication system. She was speaking directly from Earth to address the entire Galactic Council. "Honored delegates," President Carter said, "humanity has always sought peaceful relationships with all sentient species. But we will no longer tolerate being treated as inferiors or subjected to discriminatory policies." The alien delegates listened in complete silence. Some of them had never heard a human leader speak with such authority before. "Our terms are simple," President Carter continued. "First, immediate recognition of human sovereignty over all our territory and colonies. Second, equal representation in all galactic institutions and decision-making bodies. Third, an end to any attempts to limit human expansion or development." Prime Minister Zelnara of the Vegan Confederacy raised one of her crystal hands. "President Carter, What can humanity offer in return for these terms? It was Admiral Hayes who answered. She stood up slowly, her presence commanding attention from every creature in the room. We offer what we have always offered, Admiral Hayes said. Trade partnerships, technological cooperation, and protection for peaceful vessels traveling through human space. But these relationships will be between equals, not between masters and servants. Dr. Wright activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red areas marked worlds experiencing power failures, food shortages, and economic collapse. Blue areas showed human space, where everything continued to function normally. As you can see, Dr. Wright explained, the galaxy has not been functioning well without human participation. Our mining operations, shipping networks, and technical expertise were more important than anyone realized. Merchant Prince Quovan, who had lost most of his business empire, spoke up with a desperate tone. Dr. Wright, when can human operations resume? My people are starving without the food shipments that human cargo vessels used to carry. That depends entirely on how quickly these negotiations conclude, Dr. Wright replied. Human ships are ready to resume operations as soon as acceptable agreements are reached. General Thoxman of the Catherian military asked the question everyone was thinking. Admiral Hayes, how long has humanity possessed such advanced military capabilities? Admiral Hayes smiled slightly. General, humanity has had interstellar warfare capabilities since before we made contact with your species. We simply chose not to use them. The room went completely silent. Several aliens looked at each other with shock and fear. You mean, stammered Professor Zendal of the Andromedans, you could have conquered us all along. Yes, Admiral Hayes said simply. But conquest was never our goal. We preferred cooperation and mutual benefit. Unfortunately, some of you mistook our preference for peace as a sign of weakness. Jake Morrison pulled out a document and placed it on the table. This is the new Treaty of Galactic Cooperation, he announced. It establishes humanity as a full member of the galactic community, with all the rights and privileges that entails. It also creates new protections against discrimination based on species, age of civilization, or technological development. Chairman Clithmore picked up the treaty with shaking legs and began to read it. The terms were fair, but firm. Humanity would rejoin galactic society, but as an equal partner, not as a junior member seeking approval. The treaty also includes some additional provisions, Jake continued. Human military forces will provide security for key trade routes. Human engineers will help upgrade alien infrastructure to more efficient standards. Human scientists will share selected technologies with allied species. Selected technologies? Asked Dr. Fluxara of Centauri Beta. Dr. Wright nodded. We will share technologies that benefit everyone, such as improved medical equipment and more efficient power generation. However, military technologies will remain restricted until trust is fully established. The negotiations continued for 2 days. One by one, the alien delegates agreed to the new terms. They had no choice. Without human cooperation, their civilizations would continue to collapse. On the final day, Chairman Clithmore signed the treaty with his own 8 signatures, 1 for each leg. Every other delegate followed his example. The Treaty of Galactic Cooperation is now in effect, Jake announced. Humanity officially rejoins the galactic community as an equal member. Within hours of the signing, human ships began moving throughout the galaxy again. Captain Ryan Torres resumed his patrol duties, but now he flew under the flag of an equal power, not a junior partner. Ben Clark restarted his mining operations, but this time the aliens who bought his materials treated him with respect. Dr. Linda Wright returned to the Andromedan Science Institute, but now she was the director of the program, not just a researcher. Her alien colleagues welcomed her back with genuine gratitude and relief. On Earth, President Carter stood at her window watching human ships launch toward the stars. The lights of alien worlds were beginning to shine again as human engineers restored their power systems. Director Collins, she said to her intelligence chief, how are our new partners adjusting to the treaty? Sam Collins smiled. Very well, Madam President. Application requests for human citizenship have increased by 300%. Several alien species want to establish permanent embassies on Earth, and the Galactic Council has officially invited you to address them at their next session. President Carter nodded with satisfaction. Sam, send a message to all human ambassadors. Tell them that the age of asking for permission is over. From now on, humanity leads by example. Across the galaxy, alien children went to sleep with their lights on again. Alien workers returned to jobs in factories powered by human technology. Alien families ate food grown on human agricultural worlds and shipped on human cargo vessels. But now they all knew the truth. The species they had once called primitive and violent had been the guardians of galactic civilization all along. Humanity had chosen to serve rather than rule, to build rather than conquer, to share rather than hoard. The humans had walked out of peace talks as supplicants seeking approval. They returned as the acknowledged leaders of galactic civilization, and the universe was a safer, more prosperous place because of it. In the end, the aliens learned the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate the species that chooses mercy over might, cooperation over conquest. Because when such a species finally acts, even the stars themselves pay attention.